What is up, guys? It's your boy Torius back with another video. Today I'm gonna be reviewing a book I read before, but I recently checked back into it. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover, right? Before we get into it though, like the video, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Let's get into it. So every time I read a book, it's always different from the last time I read it, right? Like more things open up in my head and I realized that, oh shit, because like things change in your life and then you just think about it later on and you just say, okay, that's what it is, that's probably why, okay. And then, you know, I don't know, it's like a video, like life is like a game. My first impressions for the book, I went into it like, okay, this is gonna cure me being a nice guy, right? Because I was always like a beta male kind of dude, because I was raised by a woman, right? And because my dad was always like trying to get at girls all the time, right? And I just saw dude walking funny. So my dad would always walk around, like my dad would always try to pick up girls all the time. And it's funny because the thing is, he would always try to teach me how to talk to girls. But like when I was a little kid, you feel me? And I was always like, that was back in the time when talking to girls, like girls had cooties, you feel me? Like, because you watch all the TV shows and you were like, ew, I don't want to talk to girls. Girls have cooties. And you're just like, you know, like a dumb little kid. So I didn't really care about talking to girls. And he's like, oh, when you're older, you're going to want to. And I looking back on it, because that's one thing the book really made me understand, is because I used to see my dad as like a dick, right? I used to see him as like a bad person because he had to like hurt my mom, and he like, you know, like seeing my mom hurt made me really be like, you know what? I'm not gonna be like my dad. I'm not gonna make my mom hurt. Like basically any female, I'm not gonna make them hurt like that. And it's funny because in the book he talks about like, when you're like every boy that turns into a nice guy, he always makes a decision, like a conscious decision, to not be like his father, right? And that's something I learned from the Way of the Superior Man as well, because I used to like see my dad as like an evil guy, like a villain in my life, basically, right? Like my old boy, you feel me? Like my old boy was just like, because every time I saw him, because I would only see him like once out of the year, right? Like once or twice out of the year. And every single time I saw him, he would make me do work, right? So I would always associate my dad with work, like, right? Like my dad would always make me want to spend, like he would always want to spend time with me. The thing is, like with my mom, I was just always around her. So like spending time with my mom meant just doing anything. But like my dad, he always wanted to spend time with me, right? Like he always wanted me to watch like nature shows and Discovery Channel and all that boring shit. And I always wanted to watch cartoons, right? I never gave a fuck about the nature shows. My dad would always watch that shit, and you know, I would always see him as like, okay, and like my mom would always like prepare us, like, okay, your dad is coming, and we'd be like, no, right? Like that's so horrible. Like I would never want my kids to not want to see me, right? Like to be like scared to see me, you feel me? Like that was such a horrible, like I would just be like so disappointed, right? But yeah, so the book really basically explains that, oh, your dad is, you know, like, yeah, he was a dick, and every boy doesn't want to, a lot of that times dudes don't want to be like their dads, but sometimes you gotta understand, like, you know, that was just a nigga. You feel me? Like he's just a dude. Like, okay, there's a dude, you know, that's who he is. Because when you spend time with other men, because one thing about my mom, she kept me away from men, and I always peeped that, and I always thought that, I was like, okay, I never really cared because, I don't know, I was a kid, I don't give a fuck. But now that I'm older, I see like, damn, that like really stifled my growth, because I should have been hanging around other dudes. Like my mom literally kept me from men, so I was always like, damn, like hanging out with dudes. Like when I was in high school, it would always, I always found myself hanging out with girls, right? Like, because one thing was that I always wanted to like just prove, oh yeah, I know girls. But also like hanging out with girls a lot made me realize like, damn, it's a lot easier to hang out with girls because I love talking, right? That's why I'm making these videos, because I love to talk a lot. I let my feminine side out with making these videos. But I love to talk, right? And since I love talking so much, girls love to talk. And we would talk about things, like we would talk about stuff. But whenever I would hang around dudes, like, because I had two groups of friends, right? In high school, I had like my dude friends and my girlfriends, right? And every time I hung out with my girlfriends, they would talk, but then the dudes we just be splat, you know, they would just be hitting each other, right? And now I understand a little more. Like that's what dudes do. Dudes don't really be talking like that. They just be hanging. But yeah, I understand a lot of that stuff now because I was always just more comfortable hanging around girls. And it's funny because I remember there was always girls that were like, oh, I find it more comfortable hanging around with dudes, right? I always heard that a lot too. But yeah, what else? Yeah, so the book, like right now I'm rereading it again. I don't want to talk too much about what the book says, but it's basically like, if you're a nice guy and you're a beta male and you're trying to become an alpha male, even if you don't believe in that stuff, like the terminology or whatever, it's a good read, even for girls. Even if you're a woman, you can just read that book and it explains about like why your dude is being like how he is, right? And it's like, okay, this dude is married to his mom. This dude is dependent. This dude he's not a real man. He's like a little wimpy boy, right? And the book basically just goes into all that. Yeah, if you have any more questions about the book, just leave a comment. If you're trying to get into it, where to find it. I read it on YouTube first, but then they took it down, and now I listen to it on Audible. Like I bought it, and I listen to it like from time to time, and I just get more and more insights. And like, oh, okay, I understand. Like it's always good to listen to books a bunch of times because then you just pick up things, you know, like you just pick up different things. With that being said, like the video, comment below what you think about it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.